Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of DMI Live. I am Baron Capers with you, representing Digital Media Institute here in Shreveport, Louisiana. Yay, today we will have a demo in 3ds Max, and we have a very special guest today who will be joining us pretty soon. His name is Brandon Oldenburg. You may have heard of him from studios like Moonbot and Flight School. He's an Academy Award winner. He's a very talented artist, and he will be our guest today. We'll be getting to know him and the things that inspire him to do some of the things that he's been doing. But first, we'll be playing around in 3ds Max until he gets here to visiting with us. Hey,
howdy.
Like he's popping in. This guy is dedicated.
Here we are.
Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
How are you, Baron?
I'm doing well.
Fantastic.
Hey.
Sorry.
All right, dude.
The physical therapy has me strapped down to these things, and it's hard to predict on how long till the machine's done pumping on my legs, and it just went long today.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you doing this. Yeah. Sorry to cut into your physical time.
I'm excited to talk.
Yeah. All right.
Is my connection okay?
Yeah, you're doing well. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what we have, man, I think it works.
5 minutes, and I can switch. Okay.
Okay. Cool. We can do that. All right. So, hey, if you want to just tell us about yourself while you ride, or hey, you're not driving, are you?
No, I'm not driving. Hands-free.
Okay,
my
cool.
wife is taking care of me. All of the girls in my life, my daughters and my wife, have been doing a great job, and they've been very patient with me these last few weeks since I broke my leg. So
man.
I'm in Arlington, Texas, where we live, North Arlington, and we've been here for, gosh, is it 3.5 years now? And since we moved from Shreveport, and it's been great to be closer to family, and also have the grandparents nearby, and the girls are made lots of new friends, and they love their school. So, and then, for me, the commute got longer. Our offices for Flight School and our mothership, Real Effects, are in downtown Dallas now. We moved late last August to downtown, only a mile from Deep Ellum, where the offices had been since like 2005. But I actually enjoy the time to where I can listen to a podcast, where before the drive into work was like 5 minutes. So there's very little time to decompress or to get your mind set before you walked into the office.
Yeah.
But I certainly miss the lack of a commute. But commutes can be cool too. But lately, COVID, there's no commute. You just go downstairs and you open your laptop and you're at work.
Yeah. No commute there, but that has its advantages too, because you're like at home with the family and you get to chill out and stuff, and hopefully have people wait on you.
Yeah, I think in a way that this is as terrible as it all is, for those of us who are fortunate enough to not get the disease, it's drawn our families closer, whether some of the families wanted to or not.
Yeah.
I've definitely have enjoyed the time. I really have enjoyed having more time with the family, and it's interesting. Like, it's really made, I think, the children even more independent, and they have become disciplined with their laptops and all the things they have to do with their classes. And it's really kind of fun to kind of see a side of their life that you wouldn't normally see when they're in school. They're very disciplined, and all of a sudden I'll start to hear my daughter's trumpet coming from upstairs, and she's in music class now.
And they unload the dishwasher without asking.
Yeah, that's nice too. When they unload, my wife says that they unload the dishwasher without asking or being told.
Yeah. That's always pretty cool.
That's a special blessing right there.
It is, man. I like that. That is awesome, man. Yeah. So dude, so when like your family, do they get to see like the cool side of dad, like when he's doing his creativity? No.
The cool side of dad, no, there isn't a side that's cool. But they have enjoyed seeing, like they actually make an observation, like, Dad, they've already known that my work is really like play. They've already known that ever since they were 5. They figured that out early on. But I do think when you're in a job like we are, people from the outside looking in can just go, oh, you're just playing around, you're goofing off. And it can become somewhat viral in what you do, and that other people want to partake. And so if I'm sitting and drawing on my iPad for work, yeah, sure enough, they're going to want to draw too. It's got this sort of Tom Sawyer addictive quality. And it's fun to be able to teach through just doing and observation. I always loved that in art school, actually. The time where I learned the most was when I was just able to see a visiting artist do their thing, and I could just sit there and observe. And I think these videos that are now popping up all over YouTube for the last few years of just watching someone draw live is so enlightening. So.
I think that's great right there. Like to see like another artist's perspective and then like to see their process. I think that's awesome. Hold on, we lost microphone.
The unmute button kind of slides down and disappears, and I kind of have to keep tapping it to where I make it reappear. So I'm making the transition into my house, so I've got to hop a little bit and scoot a little bit. But
yeah,
just
take
give
your
me a
time.
second.
So this happens.
I'll let you ask another question.
Okay. Are you sure you want me to ask a question because you kind of like froze? Did you drop the phone? Are you okay? All right. So like when you get situated, tell us about some of the things that influenced you, or like a couple of the artists that influenced you. Is that a basket?
Absolutely. Okay. So artists that have influenced us, I just love to draw that way. So Mark Tansey, is that right? I may be getting that wrong. A lot of people who have been influenced by Hopper, Ed Ruscha. These are all just painters, but you know, then there's more pop culture, like children's book illustrators like Chris Van Allsburg, who I've always loved, which is, to me, that's where it becomes more cinematic when it goes into the realm of illustration, where every image has a story in it. There's enough context or content in the image that makes you wonder what happened, and it makes you imagine what is about to happen or what had happened. And the image, to me, with the composition, which we were taught early on through the works of like Andrew Wyeth, how important composition is, but also the context of what's happening, what you're saying in that one image is so important. And it really does carry through to animation. And that's why there's so much care and thought and attention put into poses, because it's not just about the flowing action and the movement. It's about, just even if you were to pull a screen grab, and does the screen grab tell you the emotional state of the characters? Does the screen grab, like in Norman Rockwell's paintings, Norman Rockwell's probably the biggest influence, I'll have to say. When I was a kid, so my dad was an associate pastor at a church here in North Richland Hills, where I grew up, and there was a library in the church, and the librarian, Lucy Eisenman, was a big, she was awesome. She babysat me a lot, and I would sit in there and she'd pull out this gigantic book. It's like this thick. And it was just full of Norman Rockwell illustrations that were larger than life. They were larger than the printings in many cases that were in like the magazines. And I didn't know why I liked it so much. And now, having gone to school at Ringling College of Art, where I majored in illustration, I learned a lot that it had a lot to do with the poses, and had a lot to do with composition, and had a lot to do with subject matter and the reference that was pulled. All of his paintings were from photography, but there was a slight exaggerations to them that took them into another realm that wasn't comedic or it wasn't cartoony,
but it was comedic in a light way, in a hard to even describe way. And there are filmmakers, probably Steven Spielberg's the one that does it most obviously and blatantly with his compositions in his films. He's literally looking at the illustrations of Norman Rockwell and matching compositions because they work so well. And so people say you steal from other artists, and I guess steal may be the right word, but to your point, Baron, inspiration. People are so inspired by what this one artist is saying and doing. They learn from that artist, and they elevate it for their needs, for their communication, for their story that they're trying to tell. And so I immediately think, the more I think about it, I think Norman Rockwell is the biggest influence. And but when it goes into children's book illustrations, and I think Christopher Oldenburg is now like a classic illustrator in a sense. I don't know if he puts out much now, but I've always been a fan of his work because of the cinematic quality of it.
Yeah, that's really cool, dude. Yeah, I'm a fan of Norman Rockwell myself. I have one of his books on my shelf right now, and dude, I think he really captures the spirit of that time era that he was in. Even though you're right, most of them were photographed. His paintings, he added his touch to it, or his spirit or his influence onto the painting.
That's right. That's Oscar. Sorry.
Let's go.
He just chilled out.
Awesome. Stern look. No.
Sorry. He's good.
Yeah. So, dude, well, like, I think another artist that was influenced by Rockwell was Alex Ross. I can see a lot of. I don't know if you're familiar with his stuff. Comic book painter.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of his. Yeah.
You can see that
is
absolutely from the camera angles, the line quality. Speaking of line, so Line Decker, different type of illustrator, different sensibility and style, and maybe a little older than Norman Rockwell. But you can see it in his brushstrokes and his styling, how it influenced Alex Ross.
Yes.
Absolutely a big fan of all of them, all the masters of illustration.
Dude, yeah, exactly. So tell me about some movies and stuff, or like some directors that influenced you, man. Come on.
Okay. Well, I'm bad with names, but I can tell you, like, recently, and this is a new filmmaker. I wish I could remember his name. A movie that just came out last weekend, and it premiered in drive-in theaters. So the movie was produced by Amazon, but it's called The Vast of Night, and I dragged my family to go see it with me. And this filmmaker has unique sensibilities that you can see he's pulling from other filmmakers. So you can see he's pulling from Coppola, like in the conversation with how he's miking his talent and how he's having longer takes and how they're very candid and natural. And then it makes me remember back to some of the older Spielberg films like Close Encounters with overlapping dialogue and longer. You have to look up the movie. I don't know the name of the filmmaker, but I was really impressed that I'm told he's a first-time filmmaker, and it was shot in West Texas, but he's from Oklahoma. But it's really innovative film. It's very different. And I felt like I was watching something fresh, even though I knew the ingredients that the filmmaker was playing. It felt fresh.
I guess it's how they mixed them up.
Yeah, the same way like a movie like Ghosts. I don't know if you saw that movie recently. It felt fresh and unique in its approach. Ghost Story is what it's called. Ghost Story. It just felt like they were pushing the bar on, and they have a distinct voice, and something was new and about it that felt different. So like Inarutu, the director who did The Revenant, when you saw that film, or when you saw even Roma a few years ago, you can tell that these directors have a distinct voice, have a very clear vision of what they want to communicate. The same for the latest Blade Runner film. The director who did that, name's escaping me, who's doing the new Dune film. Very distinct sensibilities, and And it's funny how architecture plays such a major role in the vibe, but the vibe in Blade Runner, in the production, whoever the production designer is on that film, carries through into Dune. And the little bit of that's been released on Dune, it's that brutalist, minimal, concrete, simple, diagonal line architecture, which has a ripple effect throughout the entire film and the sensibilities of the story, which really sets a stage for the actors to be front and center because it's so minimal. But yeah, those kinds of movies lately have gotten me really excited because there's just something about them. You just know that they're distinct and different than everything else that's out there.
Yeah.
But you know,
Cool.
those are visual films. I think I can't help but talk about the movies that have such striking visuals. But you know, what carries a film, half of it really is the music, and the other half, whether the characters are dynamic enough and don't feel like they've cookie cuttered out of something else you've already seen.
Yeah.
It's easy to underestimate the power of how important a character is. A movie that came out last year or 2 years ago, called Skate Kitchen, is one of my daughter's favorite films. And the cast of that film, which were relatively people no one had ever seen before, and I think they were skater girls before they were actors, but they are now in an HBO series called Betty. And the characters are so distinct in that show and fresh, and the dynamic between them feels real but new. I really have a fondness for that, in this sense that it's these are personalities that are familiar, that you just don't often see on the screen, and it's nice and refreshing when you do. Yeah. I think
really like,
that's the thing.
Strong characters.
It's so important, and it's easy to ignore or not talk about. And it's about the dynamics, but also their personalities. Like, it makes you think long and hard about like why you like them.
Yeah.
and they're normally the more eccentric, the more eccentric are the ones that are more fascinating to me to watch. And it's not every day that you meet eccentric people on the street, but when you do, you're just like, why is this person so magnetic? Like, and normally they're really destructive personalities in real life. They're people that, you know, it's like, I'm glad I'm with you on your good day, because your bad day is probably really bad, and there's probably a chemical imbalance that we need to talk about and get you like hooked up with something. But but they are the most entertaining.
They are, you know, they are. Think of like people like the shock rockers, like Marilyn Manson. Those kind of, come on.
Yeah. So speaking of him and Shreveport, Marilyn Manson, we I have a little. This is a complete diversion, non sequitur. But we had clients in town. We were doing a short film for Samsung at Moonbot, and we went to go pick up the clients to take them to dinner, and they were staying at a hotel downtown, the one right next to Stray Cat. And when we went to pick them up, we for some reason I said, can you come up to our room? And then like, okay, we came up there, and then we all gathered in the hall, and then we came down the elevator. But as we were riding the elevator, we were riding with a strange guy, and he he made somewhat of a sexist joke in the elevator, like about women or something, of course. And everybody kind of looked at like kind of offended and like didn't say anything. And then as we were walking out to the street to the car to go where we were going to have dinner, I was like, do you guys realize who that person was we were in the elevator with? Now, these are clients from LA that probably have, you know, they have celebrity sightings all the time. But to come to Shreveport, maybe not. And he was in town because he was doing that Salem show. And so he was not in his makeup or his contacts or his rubber suit. You know, he was just regular Joe at that time.
Rubber suit.
Yeah. You remember when he had that red rubber?
Yeah, I remember that.
Anyway. So yeah, we all got a kick out of it afterwards, and then everybody forgave him for his sexist comment. But we just had a little stand up in the elevator is what it was. Stand up.
It's
Anyway.
that personality that was just coming out. He just couldn't help himself, I guess, you know.
Right. I had heard rumor he was in town, but I didn't think I was going to ride an elevator with him. So
Yeah,
anyway.
that's pretty cool though. Nice story.
Thank you.
Awesome, dude. Yeah. Dude. So what are the programs? Can you tell me about some programs and stuff that you use to create some of your art?
Of course. I mean, I'm pretty basic. Lately, I've really adopted full-on Procreate for my iPad. I have a really nice Cintiq up at the office, but you know, we haven't been to the office in a while.
No.
And to lug that giant beast here would have been cool, but I wouldn't have been using it because I've got my foot up on the couch, healing after the break. So the iPad's been great, and I have bad posture to sit down at a table, and so lounging I'm more of a like a coffee house vibe kind of lounger.
Yeah, dude.
That relaxation I think helps clear my brain a bit. So the more casual the approach is to creating the art, I think is a little more liberating and freeing. So using the iPad and Procreate's been great. It's just been a little bit of a learning curve because I've been using Photoshop since version 1, and yeah, it's always been painful every time there's a new version and new tool. The adopting and understanding all the new bells and whistles is one of those things that is tricky. You know, software early on was not taught. You know, it's hard for universities to teach software because it changes constantly.
Exactly.
And so building in a skill set to just adopt and learn new software has always been a challenge for me. And so switching over to Procreate, it's definitely one of those challenges and switches because I'm expecting it to work like predetermined tools that John Knoll and his team made. And it's been, but you know, sometimes every now and then you realize like, oh, they made a better tool that completely is different from what had become the norm for the last 25 years. So it's been refreshing in regards to that. And it's just so fast. I just like being able to sketch and share quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
Get an idea across. That's more important than polish lately. I'm in a position now where where you orchestrate and work with teams, and it's important for people to get it. It's not important for people to go, ooh, you made it a beautiful painting and it's ready for production. I don't do that anymore as much. I just need to get the idea across.
The idea.
Yeah.
So speaking of ideas, how many are snuffed out due to other hands in the pot?
Okay. That is a pet peeve of mine, is when there's too much development going on for one idea. And so design by committee is something we try to avoid. And it's easy for us to avoid it when we don't have a big team. And often we have multiple projects and we cast these teams with just a few people, especially for the early stage of just drawing the blueprint and defining the look. And really, literally, like at flight school, we really have one main artist, and that's Ruby Wang. And she's fantastic at adopting and being a chameleon to new styles. And then other projects, for example, like the Creature in the Well game we've made, that's strictly Adam's vision on look. And Bo and Adam, the two that made that game, are sort of like a hive mind in how they work. And they complement each other. Bo's inventing unique tools that work in Unreal that can help elevate Adam's art style that he's seeing in his Photoshop paintings. And that's a beautiful thing. And right now, the same kind of concept is working with one of our developers, Alessandro, working with Ruby on a new game we're developing, which the illustration style is very different than Creature, very different than anything Ruby's ever done, but it's like a spot illustration. Like in some of our favorite children's book illustrations, where like a Dick and Jane book, for example, is a lot of white on the page with text floating on the white, but then there's a little beautiful spot illustration. We're now figuring out ways to make our game feel like these illustrations. Over the last 10 years, games can look like the art we're creating. And that's really exciting. And then to think that we can have movement and dimensionality but it still feel like an illustration and then feel like a spot illustration is really exciting. So I feel like we're moving into new territory with this approach. And we're even like, what's great about spot illustrations is sometimes you see the pencil line and then it bleeds into the paint.
Yeah.
And like we're finding a way to actually
Paint.
have that work real time. To where as you move in space, you see the pencil lines and then you
That's
see it turn into
awesome.
the paint. And then you see it full rendered image in the center. It's really exciting. I know it's a lot to try to describe and picture in your head right now without seeing a picture, but hopefully in the next year or so,
I
you'll
checked it
see
out
what
on your
I'm
website.
talking.
I think it's one with the Murder of Crows or like.
Oh yeah, Manifest.
Yeah, Manifest 99. Dude, yeah, it looks like a chalk drawing, like somebody did it with chalk, you know, and it reminded me of, and I'm like, oh, dude, it's so awesome because they're like finding a way to actually incorporate it into a game engine, you know. So that's pretty sweet. You're able to like, you know, take your art from the page of a drawing or a painting and make it look like that.
Yeah, and that's a testament to the whole team that worked on Manifest. Adam would do these beautiful paintings, but everybody that touched that project found a way to bring those paintings to life. And Adam intentionally painted those early style frames with a sort of limited polygon style, very shape-oriented work. And here's one thing that I like to say is that, you know, when we are designing and telling stories with new technology inevitably has limitations. And we were making this work on a Go headset, a VR Go headset, which is very limiting because you've got to have very low polygon count, and but at the same time we want it to be beautiful. So what we do is we quickly try to understand what the limitations are and then design elegantly around the limitations. So it's like, okay, we have limited polygons. Let's really embrace that and own that. Let's make that limited polygon look ours. Let's make people go, you know what? They intentionally designed it very polygonal because that looked cool, not because the machine couldn't handle it.
Right.
So,
Dude, I like that. That's how you do it, you know. And for you guys out there listening and stuff, I hope that encourages you to just grab it and make it your own. That's how, you know, your originality is born. That's how your novel ideas and stuff come out. Right. You know, the technology is here for all for us to use. You know, in some instances it's free.
Everything in life is a creative challenge. All the curveballs you're thrown are really just creative challenges. They're not roadblocks. If you push hard enough, you're going to realize there's an interesting new solution that can go and circumvent it or embrace it. And every project will always have a challenge when it comes to budget or a challenge when it comes to time. And it's up to you to go, you know what? Let's find the creative solution here that embraces those limitations instead of just outright saying no, it's not possible. Sometimes that's the case. Saying no is healthy too, but sometimes you can see this window of opportunity in the project that's going to help elevate your work and help elevate you to the next better ladder climbing opportunity. And you got to just find a way to squeeze through that window.
That's right, dude.
And you got to creatively design around the problem.
Awesome. I like those words, man. Like great words of encouragement, you know, to young artists out there. It's great.
That's nice. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, it is, man. Because you know we need that. Because if they don't hear it, they don't hear it coming from your mouth. I mean, who's going to tell them? You know.
Yeah, I get it. No, it's always helpful, I think, for the artists that are on the front lines working to connect with the artists that are going to come next, because it's revitalizing for both. It's a reciprocal kind of energy that you both need to share. Exactly. That's why we always liked when we would go recruit at a school, because when we give a talk at a school or do a workshop with students, we feed off that energy. They feed off our energy. The unexpected ideas that come from our youth and school is really something that we often as a student are afraid to embrace because we don't know. And then it's often the case for those on the front line to just always fall back on what works. And I think it's important for both to have that push and pull, to have that discourse, to have that conversation, to be open-minded to new changes that are coming from the youth, but also have the wisdom and the sage sort of experience to inform us on what we can or potentially cannot do. And that's always to me the rub, which is like, you can't do that. I hate hearing that. Actually, that just makes you want to do it more.
That's right.
And and often the case, those of us who've been out working for the last 20 some odd years, doing whatever it is we do, it's easy to say just, it's not possible, or you can't do that. And it's important for us to try to remove that from the equation. We can't have that mindset in how we do things, especially in our work and what we do at flight school. We have to always be open-minded to the what ifs, because when you're telling stories using innovative new technology, you have to be wired in a way to be open-minded to whatever could potentially happen, because it just hasn't been invented yet.
Awesome, dude. That's right, guys. So clear your mind of can't, you have to be elastic. That's right. Think of it like, as an adversity, and just overcome it. Be able to bounce back from these things.
Right.
Awesome. Brandon, thank you for spending time with us, man. I really do appreciate it.
Well, you're very welcome. Anytime. It's been great to connect with you, Baron. I didn't realize until yesterday, Baron and I were talking so my daughter has a friend from Shreveport visiting, and she apparently has a class with you, or had a class with you.
Had a class, yes. That's my 8th grade class, Digital Arts and Game Development at Southfield Middle School. That's right.
That's right.
Annabelle Macy.
Yeah, you're doing amazing work.
Thank you.
Yeah, Annabelle was telling me how much she loved you and how much they missed that class. So
yeah, I miss my students, man. I feel like, we all got robbed of that opportunity and all the things that we had, our plans and stuff, But I really do miss my class. That's actually my first class that I ever taught.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Annabelle's class. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Well,
more special.
Hopefully soon you'll get back to it, and because I know that you're doing the right thing. Because from what I hear, the students love you.
All right, dude. I really appreciate that. It makes me feel great. That's awesome. Cool. All right. So hey guys, check out Manifest 99 and The Creature in the Well. And Real Effects just dropped Scooby-Doo, and I saw it on Amazon, so
right.
Yeah. So
That's
don't
right.
forget to check that out, guys.
And we also dropped two other things I should tell you about.
Yeah.
So yesterday, Chex Quest came out. It's a work for hire game that we made for General Mills, and you can get it on Steam. It's a free game, and it's a very nostalgic 90s reboot of an old game that was made, and you got it on a CD in your cereal box. It's called Chex Quest. And as of, what is today, the 20th?
Yeah, the 20th.
So tomorrow, our project that I got to direct called War Remains, the home port will come out. So you can download that, called War Remains.
War Remains. All right, we'll try to plug those in links below if you guys can follow it. And don't forget Flight School. Check them out, man. It's some really awesome stuff. You guys will be blown away from the content that they have. It is awesome. Brandon, thank you again, man.
Thank you. I'm glad this worked out.
That's awesome. We'll see you later.
Reaching out.
All right. Bye-bye.
Stay safe.